So I've done the wrappings of the weapons in the hemp sort of colour, in this pale yellow, and it's looking alright. Now there is also a little bit of cloth on a necklace and also around his belt, so I just need to do that area in the yellow. So the weapon wrappings, I think. I did the other side, so I did a video doing one side and I've done the other side now, and that will need a second coat with touch-ups. So the chain I'll be doing in quite a dark tin colour. It's a very deep sort of brown, not as golden as the maul. And there is chain both around his neck. There's some chains linking to the skulls. Kind of holding off on painting the skulls because they're white, and obviously anything that is dark that goes onto them is going to need some major rework. So I figured I will probably save the skulls to last. The chains and the ropes kind of intertwine and go over on top of one another, so just need to figure out which is which basically. So I think that and the neckline there is pretty much all chain. It's just a little bit of rope. You are not absolutely not going to see this. It's like buried in the neck area there. I can barely see it. So those are the ropes holding the bones together. Make them the same colour. Oh, that's right. That's bone, that's bone, that's rope. Okay, so necklace, ties around the bones. Alright, that's okay. Yeah. So this is also rope, right? Rope holding the stone in place. Don't need to be too careful with that because I haven't figured out what colour I'm going to paint the stone yet, but it'll definitely be darker than the light yellow rope. Maybe a green sort of colour, potentially. Just in the sense that you do get a lot of kind of mossy coloured stones, and don't have a lot of green in the palette for this model so far, so it might actually work in quite well. Okay, so it's like a rope belt holding his pants up basically. And more of that. Quite happy with how the rope contrasts with the pants, so that's worked out reasonably well. So basically the final two colours that I need to work on are the chains and the skulls. And then that's the main colours for the model done. I'll also do, as I think I said in my last video, a little bit of research on potential for doing something a little bit more different with the base. Don't necessarily want it to end up just being a plain black base, although there's nothing wrong with that. I don't actually paint a lot of my bases black. I think I've got one other model with a lot of black in the base. That's the Kratos, the God of War model. But I have an idea in my mind of like some red lava sort of lightning style streaks coming out in the base, but obviously you want to be able to pull it off. You don't want it to look cheesy. So not that you really look at technically the base as much as the model itself, especially when it's on a bookshelf. You tend to just see the model sticking up, but anyway. All comes down to, why do you do this? Do you do this for other people, or do you do it for you? And if you do it for you, then you want to kind of develop skills and grow skills, and also you want to be proud of the work that you've done. So it's part of the whole hobby is challenging things and getting things to look the way you want. So that looks like rope as well. This is the area where the small hand axe sits at the back. So whatever kind of like dry brushing I do, I'll probably do after I've put the hand axe in place, but all the detail painting I want to do first on the axe and on the body, because it's way easier to do without having that stuck in place. Well, I don't think you're going to be able to see any of that, so I might end the video there. As always, thank you for watching, and yeah, when we come back I'll probably be doing the dark metal chains. I think will be the next step. So for the chains I'm using the Vallejo game color called Tinny Tin, and it should give some nice dark brown sort of tones to the middle. I think there's any chains on either of those parts, so it's all just here on the model itself. Got some on the maul, got some on the belt, and got a necklace made of it. So when I first started doing Ralpatha metal models, like the models were actually made out of metal. That's pretty much how I learnt to paint. It was mainly on enamel Humbrol branded paints, and for many years I painted with enamels, and whenever I used metallics for water-based like acrylics, they were never really very good. But the metallics these days are so good, like the quality of them and I used to paint with them, that I haven't actually painted with an enamel paint in quite some time. I have a few. I have some Humbrol and Tamiya. Is that it? Tamiya and Humbrol? Yeah, I think those are the only two brands that I've got, but they just kind of sit there on the shelf. They never get touched, because I mean, it's not just the fact, although it is mainly the fact that it is much easier to clean your brushes out when you're done if they're water-based. So yeah, sure, there is that as part of it. But the other reason why I don't like enamels personally, and why I don't really paint with them anymore, is that it's just so harsh, especially on your brushes. Really harsh to deal with. Plus you got your chemicals to clean with, your turpentine or whatever, but yeah, it's obviously just a lot easier dealing with water-based stuff. I have come a long way. When I do the final touches, like the dry brushing or washes, like the final texturing of the model, the skin, like anything that's light, will be affected the most. And this rope that he has, you'll see, but the texturing won't really affect this too much, because other than the black of the fur, which does have a lot of silver in it now, this is definitely the darkest colour of the model, so it tends to affect the light colours more. Makes it all look a bit more grungy, I guess, or dirty. think that's worked out reasonably well. Definitely happy with my colour choice. I'll paint the bit next to the neck later because you definitely won't be able to see any of that when I do it. Not sure how much of this detail will come up either because it's kind of metal on metal, but I'll paint a little bit and then I'll probably pause the video there. It'll be nice to get into some of the final effects for the model. It's definitely coming together. Yeah, I don't really think you're gonna see much of this, not until it's done and I can give some high detail photos, but anyway, that is some of the chain work. I will come back when that's done and give you an update photo. And so here is an update video on how the troll is starting to look. I've painted the white and the skulls and given the chain a different metallic sort of finish, the same colour that's holding the skulls in place. And I've also started a bit of a freehand drawing on the base, so that's just the beginning to kind of mark out where it's going to be. There is also a little bit of a motif as well at the back, but that'll end up being more red and orange sort of hues, I think. But yeah, just thought that this would give you a good idea of how things are starting to look.